Sound activated. 3,
Woo!
2,
Woo!
1. Hey,
Oh,
there we
hey,
are.
everybody.
I didn't even put my things on. I literally just sat down. My God.
Someone, what? Uh-oh.
Uh-oh. Someone's got the audio up.
Yeah, we do.
Oh, that's weird. Hold on.
Real quick. So for those of you joining us, we're trying vMix for the first time today from our end. So let's see how it goes.
What is that happening?
Yeah, we do.
Because my TV is playing the audio, even though it's not supposed to.
I thought it was your iPad.
Ah,
Oh, it is my iPad.
Yeah, it's your iPad.
perfect.
Okay, I fixed it.
Hello?
All right.
Okay.
Hello.
Hello.
Look how pretty this is. This is so much cleaner than the Zoom's pictures.
Thank you.
It is pretty nice.
It's snazzy.
Nice.
So that's a nice bit of upgrade there.
Yeah. Cool. Well, welcome everybody to Dune Book Club. Today we're going to talk about chapters 16 through 20, and of course anything that you might want to loop back on earlier chapters as things start to kind of piece together more and more. I think these have been probably some of the more eventful chapters. Now that all the establishing stuff has happened, we're getting to the action. We're getting to like the life and death shit, which is very exciting.
Finally.
Oh yeah, show me with a bookmark, like physically where we are in this book, because I only have digital right now. All right, we're good. We're a good bite through. It's pretty fun.
Oh.
We're almost to the second part. We're like
the
2
second part.
chapters away from the second part.
Nice.
Beer and Batman says, I have never read the book or seen the movie in a decade, but I tuned in to see the new stream. Oh, thanks. Well,
Thanks.
Prepare for spoilers. It's a little bit different
Yeah.
than the movie, but most of the stuff is the same, especially up to this point. A lot of it is pretty similar still. Well, let's talk about it. Do we want to just do like a quick overview what happened in each chapter and then we can discuss, or do you
Yes,
want to break
please.
it down chapter by chapter?
Let's do like a quick once over to the whole thing, and then we'll
Quick once over. Chapter 16, the Duke throws a banquet.
Yes.
Technically, the Lady Jessica throws a banquet. The Duke is hosting with various important peoples on Arrakis, including like water sellers and a still suit manufacturer and all this stuff. And they realize halfway through the meal that there is some sort of enemy in the room. They discover that it is a banker who is working for the Harkonnens, and they have this really kind of nice veiled conversation about power while they're talking about water and Fremen and blood, and about the carrion birds that drink blood here on Arrakis. And Paul asks a very pointed question. He's like, oh, are they cannibals? He's like, why would you ask such a thing? And just being like, are you a cannibal, you piece of shit? Which is so good. Paul handles himself very well in that scene up until the very end when Jessica's slightly disappointed because he chooses to boast in a situation where they're hiding for their own safety. So she can see that he's a little bit reckless. But up until that moment, she's very impressed. And even the Duke has this prideful moment where he's like, you mistake my son for a child. And he's still a kid. Beerman says, reading is for suckers, Danny. You aren't spoiling anything I would ever read. Well, I guess that's right.
You do agree reading is for
bankers-
suckers.
The banker's a Harkonnen agent. They also realize that there's a connection between Dr. Kynes and the whatchamacallit, the smuggler. So there's a connection there. So Kynes at least has a hand in the smuggling operations on Arrakis. And he is a tremendously dangerous man because everybody seems terrified of him. Like, he just kind of calmly turns around and is like, are you challenging me? And the guy's like, fuck, no. So just Jessica notes in her head that, people are terrified of him, which I think is great. That's more
we forgot
or less.
To talk about we forgot to talk about incentives because Kenny's going to do a Bart song when we reach $100.
Apparently.
Oh, you're right. Yeah.
Yeah. Let me fix that.
I mean, I'm sure we could get him on a call.
He's not awake yet.
So there's another moment where so they also speak through like veiled military code and stuff throughout this whole conversation. Like, all this shit is why I'm just like, why I constantly say this is going to be so hard to film well, because everything's in code that you can't understand unless it's like described in subtext. It's like asterisks for film. Like, how are they going to do it? But I think, Leto steps out because there is a security breach, and he alerts them to that through his veiled conversation. and then eventually word gets back that things are safe, everything's fine. But yeah. He also does away with an old custom of when the Harkonnens were in charge, where they would like dump water on a filthy rag, and then they would wring out that rag for the poor, like outside, so that they could get some moisture from it. And the Duke was like, "Fuck that noise," and just starts like he just like to also just challenge everybody in the room. He just like he pours it out, and everyone's like, "Fuck." My favorite is Dr. Kynes, though, because he pulls out like a little flask and catches the water and puts it back in his pocket. No one calls him on it. It's like, I'm not wasting shit. Here you go.
It's funny because when we got to this point, I was like, at this point, I was like, oh, they're wasting water. Like I felt like that. Like I was like, I got caught up into it. Like,
Planet
I was
doesn't
appalled.
actually exist.
Yeah. And then he says that he's going to give a cup of water to anyone who comes to the gates and asks for it, which pisses off one of the
handmaiden.
the handmaiden, because the assumption is that she's been selling water to the poor instead of giving it away like she's supposed to. So she's kind of the Duke is upturning old ways to see who's loyal, more or less.
He even says, "I'm gonna post a guard next to you, so you can't like swindle me either."
Yeah, and he's pissed throughout this whole thing. The Duke is just angry and slightly acting out, but still, maintaining himself. And that is, I think, the most. Oh, we also find out what happened to the carryall. They found out that it was Harkonnens had lifted the carryall that was supposed to rescue the spice harvester. So they captured, and those Harkonnens are now in Atreides' control. So they were at least able to figure that out to prevent that from happening again in the near future. They also were able to intercept a delivery of lace guns, which means that, or they assume means that there have also been other successful ones that they did not intercept. So they're arming themselves. And that's chapter 16. I think.
Thanks for the sub, Mezzy.
Hey, thank you for the sub.
And is laser guns just laser guns?
Yes, yeah, basically. Yeah.
Okay.
Space guns, pew pew.
Pew pews. Okay.
Blasters, if you will.
They can disintegrate anything
They're
they
guns.
hit. For shields.
No. They're not guns because there are guns. There are also projectile guns.
There's gun guns in this?
No, not gun guns.
He's happy.
I'm so happy about this.
Because they talk about like ballistics as well. So the shields can protect you against ballistics. The shields can't protect you against lace guns, but nobody's going to shoot you with one because it could blow you both up.
Yeah.
That's why they don't use them on people wearing shields.
Right?
Yeah. But it's a gamble. It's a variable, right? So it's like either you shoot the person and that person and just you die, or it can set off something similar to an atomic explosion. So it's generally not worth it to shoot somebody with a laser gun if you know shields are involved.
Damn.
Yeah. You meet Linger Butte, the water shipper, who's kind of a dick, and he's trying to like seduce Paul with this lady, and doesn't really work. Paul just kind of carries himself really well and ignores her. All right, on to chapter 17. Chapter 17. This is when Jessica wakes up.
There was one thing I wanted to pop in there about that dinner. Was the fact that Kynes and the smuggler were also at least into Jessica's eyes, they were interrupting what Paul was trying to do with his kind of engagement. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Because the Duke was pointedly asking Kynes, it's like, is there enough water to make what you're saying happen? Because they're talking about how it's like Kynes is basically saying, like, if you stop torturing this planet, it would actually be livable. Like, if you lived within its means, like, it would be fine. We just need the water. And he's like, is there enough water? And Kynes is like, maybe. And Jessica's like, he's lying. So he's trying to not give away this information. And the water shipper is just like, there's just not enough water. There's not enough water, because it's in his interest for there not be enough water. He's like, well, this guy knows everything about water. And Duke's like, no, fuck you, tell me. So good. I just love these heightened conversations throughout all these books. But yeah, that is definitely an important part of that chapter as well. Chapter 17, Jessica wakes up to a disturbance, and it's Duncan, Idaho, like super drunk with spice beer, which seems suspicious in later chapter, but they'll get there.
Spoilers.
Well, in a later chapter we've already read, So
Oh.
it's
Oh, I thought you
we'll
meant
get
like
there.
10 chapters from now.
How dare you?
No, it's like 2 chapters from now. It's all contained.
Yeah.
I'm watching myself. So Idaho betrays the knowledge that he thinks that Jessica is a Harkonnen spy. She slaps him across the face because he's drunk, and that's when he kind of spits it out. And he's like, "I don't take orders from a Harkonnen spy," because he's super drunk. And she sees this. The problem is just being like, we've uprooted our people. They don't feel like they have a home. And poor Duncan is torn between now serving the Fremen and serving House Atreides on a place that isn't his home. So he's just upset. And Jessica and Thufir. Oh, she's trying to still figure out who the traitor actually is. And I love that they're always like processing through, and they're like, "Is it Yue? Nah, can't be Yue. Absolutely can't be him. Like he can't go against his training either. Blah blah blah. Under Imperial conditioning, right?" Jessica suggests that the traitor might be a red herring, just saying like maybe there isn't one. The Harkonnens are just trying to get us at our throats. We as readers all know that Yue is absolutely the traitor. It's just when this comes out and how. But she has this wonderful scene with Thufir Hawat in the chair. And, he suspects her, and he's trying, like, he's doing his best. He's like, if I'm wrong, I will apologize all day long, but I think it's you. I feel like it has to be you because Yue sent him on that scent, right? So he's being played by Yue. And Jessica finally sort of gives an example of her power. She uses the voice on him, and it freaks him the fuck out because she's never used it on him before, probably not even in front of him the way he reacted, right? She's like, "I didn't dismiss you," and his body forcibly sits down before he can think about it or react to it. So that is the voice in action. And he's like, "Fuck," and he's like, "She could have killed me. Like in that moment, she could have killed me. I lost control of my body. She could have absolutely finished me. Like, why didn't she? If she is this thing." So they keep coming back to this stalemate moment of like neither of them particularly trusts the other, but they still have respect. And she's like, "Well, out of respect for you, I'm going to let you walk away from this situation, so that you can find out like who the traitor really is." But I think they ultimately decide that there might not be one.
When the scene between Idaho and his drunken state spilling the beans about watching Jessica, I thought it was a ruse so that she would expose herself to the Duke, like as a means of like, oh, tell Idaho to reveal herself, and but I didn't at the first time believe he was actually drunk.
Yes, suspicious spice beer. I mean, they talk about it later. You all read the same thing.
No, but it was just like my initial thinking of that scene was like, oh, is he lying? Is this another ruse? Because everything else is so conspiracy theory based.
Yeah.
It's like,
I completely forgot about that scene too. I don't actually remember Duncan being this interesting in my first read through. I remember him being like very just kind of like flat loyal dude, and I'm glad he's got more layers this time around. I also like that Jessica kind of like shows her love for the Duke in her anger toward Thufir, where she's like, if I wanted him to marry me, if I wanted all that power, I could just fucking take it, but I'm not going to, because I'm not a traitor, because I'm not a piece of shit. I'm going to let him live his life, and I will help him because that's my job as a Bene Gesserit. Like, yeah, we're trained to do all this stuff. And she calls herself a witch because he's about to, but basically he's calling her a witch because people are scared of them because they do spooky shit like The Voice. That's a pretty short chapter. They talk about different ways that the Harkonnens might be planning to attack, like setting lace guns on timers, having them hit the shield wall of the castle of Erikeen, blowing everything to smithereens. But they're like, nah, they wouldn't do that because radiation is hard to get rid of, so it would be hard for them to lie and say they didn't. So again, they have to kind of be covert in their murderous application. Yeah, that's pretty much all. It's 17. That stood out to me. I have highlighted stuff that we can go back to when we start breaking it down more. Chapter 18. Boop, boop, boop. What was this one? Yeah. So Lita receives a message reading, "A column of smoke by day, a pillar of fire by night." Whatever that means. Lita wants to go. Like his purpose at the top of this chapter is to go and finally explain himself to Jessica, to let her know that like, hey, this is why I did it. This is what's going on. I never really suspected you. But instead, he hears sounds of someone dying. So he rounds a corner, pulls out his knife, and is trying to be hero guy. And first he sees he sees the corpse of the smuggler who was working, at least allegedly working with Kynes. They had some sort of relationship of Tuek. And then he finds the Shadow Mapes dying on the floor. And she's basically saying like, guard killed, blah, blah, piecing together like shit went down. But she dies before she can say anything particularly useful. And while Leto is paying attention to her, he senses something behind him. He gets stuck with a paralyzing agent, and then he turns to face Dr. Yue, the traitor. He also realizes that he's no longer hearing the hum of the shield generators, so Arakeen is completely wide open. And this is another part where a couple chapters sort of overlap in time, so we get to see this scene again from Yue's perspective. And there's so this is where they talk about the tooth. If you've seen the movie, the tooth is like the most just fucking gets in your brain. So he's going to he already has a peg tooth in his jaw. So what Dr. Yue is going to do is rip out a tooth and then place in a tooth that contains a poison capsule that he's going to exhale in the Baron's face, because the Baron will want to gloat, and he knows this, right? So like Yue, he knows that he's sending the Duke to his death, and he's got this really cool quote. I highlighted it. I'll get back to it. But basically, it's like, you were dead either way, but now you can at least do something when you die. So he's weaponizing the Duke because he knows he's fucking doomed. There's no way to save him, and all of this just so that he can get any word on his wife. So Yue truly does hate the Harkonnen, so he's still trying to sabotage everything, even while he's being a traitor. So he's still as loyal to the Atreides as he can be, while completely betraying them and making sure that the Duke dies. So the tooth is super cool. He's like, remember the tooth.
He says that so much. I'm like, I'm unconscious at this point, and I still remember the tooth. Like, God,
he's
he
super
said it so
drugged.
much.
He did. The tooth. And Yue says that he's going to save Paul and Jessica. He's like, you have to do as I say so that I can save Paul and Jessica. Like, don't fight it. Get yourself captured. You know you're going to die, so just do it. I'll take care of them for you agreeing to this plan. And that's it. Very short chapter. But yeah, Yue says, he's like, all right, I'll make sure they get to the Fremen, because at least they hate the Harkonnens as much as we do, and they're the most likely to keep them alive. So it's sort of a loose plan, but it's probably the best option they have. And then on to chapter 19. This is Jessica waking up, having been captured. And so she's bound and gagged. She's pretending to be asleep, but the Baron knows she's awake because there was a timer in her drugs. Basically, they did the math, so they knew exactly when she'd wake up.
Which also helps her realize that it was Yue who was the saboteur.
Yes, yeah, because they would have had to know her height, her weight, and all that stuff. So she immediately, she's like, fuck, it was Yue, that piece of shit. Piter comes in, and you get more of like creepy ass evil Piter. So the Mentats are generally meant to be like logical human thinking machines. Like they're human computers, very smart, also generally assassins, but usually honorable. But the Baron has just fucking twisted the shit out of Piter, and Jessica keeps noting this. And the Baron doesn't even notice how fucked up he is. And I love that. There's like a couple moments where she mentions his smile, and she's like, the Baron can't see like what a predatory like smile that is. It's like, no, he's not trained like me, so I guess he wouldn't, kind of thing. Like, you don't know what kind of monster you made. I love that moment. Piter wants Arrakis, so the Baron offers him duchy, so the dukedom of Arrakis. So he's going to take over Arakeen. At least that's what he says. And then Piter orders a couple of men to dispose of Jessica and Paul, one of which is deaf, so that he won't be affected necessarily by the voice. And they're put into a litter, like a little stretcher sort of thing, with her son, and taken to an ornithopter. They kept calling him Scarface, which is kind of fucked up. But especially after you get his name, they keep calling him Scarface. His name's Kinet, and then Zigo are the other two. They fly them in the desert to drop them off. And there's all these like layers of why this is happening. Like the Baron can't kill them outright, because if a truthsayer comes, which would be the Reverend Mother, like they can always tell when you're telling the truth. So the less he knows, the more he can get away with. So he's like, I pass him off to you, Piter, do what you want. And Piter, realizing the same thing, he's like, okay, you two do what the traitor said. Okay, bye. So it's like both of their hands are clean if they get investigated, or as clean as they can be. So Jessica realizes as she's bound on the stretcher that the stretcher itself, or the bed or whatever, litter has a couple meanings. It can either be like stretcher or bed within a vehicle sort of thing, assuming bed within a vehicle. And the straps have been slightly cut. So she realized that she could bust out of those if she needed to. So somebody loosened stuff up for them, made it easier for them to escape. So they get their way out using the voice. Paul starts it. Is pseudo successful, right? He says, "Take the gag out of my mom's mouth," and that one works. And then she's like, "Man," because they're basically planning to rape her, which is awful. And they say, she's like, "Gentlemen, you don't have to like fight over me." And then she uses the voice when she says that. So of course they have to fight over her, and they start killing each other. And then as Paul she's like, "Well, let go of my son, and I'll let you, the one who won, have your way with me." And he's like, "Okay." So he cuts Paul's. I mean, he's still under the effect of the voice. So yeah. So he cuts Paul's bindings, throws him out into the sand, and then Paul, as he's falling, like whips his foot around and fucking kills him with a kick, which is so badass. Yeah. He like hits him in the sternum, which like pops up and then punctures the ventricle, and the guy just dies. And Jessica's like, "I had him." She probably did. I just love how badass the two of them are. And when she sees Seago bleeding out, she's like, "What a terrible waste of moisture." So they're already starting to come around to the Fremen way of thinking as the value of water becomes more and more apparent. Another Thopter arrives, and they start just booking it because they're like, "It's the Harkonnens, go!" And that's the end of that chapter. And yeah, these last couple are pretty short.
And she reached under the
Oh
seat.
yes, there's a little bundle. Did they open the bundle in this chapter or no?
Mm-mm.
They didn't.
They didn't. No, she just had got it.
Right. So now we go back in time and we see Yue immediately after capturing the Duke. And so some Sardaukar troops come in. And they're just like, you Yue? He's like, "I'm Yue. That's the Duke. There you go." And yeah, so they take Leto. They ask where his signet ring is. Uh-oh. Am I frozen?
No.
Oh, yeah, you cut out.
Now he's yellow. Now.
Yeah, his video was like stuttering.
Yeah.
A little bit.
I'm a narcissist. I only look at myself.
There's Danny.
I'm back.
You're back.
That was weird. Snap camera's freaking out.
Oh, okay, that's
the last chapter. Yue.
So yeah, the soldier is asking. He wants the Duke's signet ring because it's a power move, right? If they have that ring, they can do a lot of trouble by signing it with an official seal. But Yue says, "I don't know what happened to it. Probably sent it with a messenger, but he's literally got it in his pocket, so he's freaking out." And then everyone just keeps calling him traitor and shouldering past him and treating him like a piece of shit. And he's just like, "Yep, I helped them, and I'm still this. Like, this is what I'll be known as forever. I will be Yue the traitor." Like, he's aware, 100%. But he's like, "But I can't fail." So he sneaks off with the bundle, tucks the signet ring into it, and is trying to like leave this for Paul and Jessica, and he tucks it into the ornithopter. He's able to like keep his calm, walk slowly, not get caught, and tuck it away. And then he awaits the Baron to hear what's happened with his wife. And that's pretty much it. And he also has looped Duncan Idaho into this plan somehow, but we don't necessarily know how yet.
Yeah. He just doesn't want him to fail.
Yeah. Oh, and talking about the spice beer, that was in the chapter before, the Thufir and Jessica conversation. Because she's like, "I keep asking people about spice beer, and nobody knows what the fuck I'm talking about." So the general idea is that Duncan might have been drugged somehow, or something else happened to him. So he might not have been drunk. And yeah, that's it. That's the chapters.
Wait, I might have glazed out when you did you talk about him doing something with the package into the Thopter?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, tucking the ring in and then putting it in.
Okay, yeah. I think.
And then he also carved his own sigil into the ceiling so that they would recognize that it was him who helped them. Ugh. Rough, man. So rough. Well, let's go back. Let's start. I really like I love all the quotes at the top of the chapters, so I don't want to make a habit out of quoting all of them, but I think this one is particularly good. Greatness is a transitory experience. It is never consistent. It depends in part upon the myth-making imagination of humankind. The person who experiences greatness must have a feeling for the myth he is in. He must reflect what is projected upon him, and he must have a strong sense of the sardonic. This is what uncouples him from belief in his own pretensions. The sardonic is all that permits him to move within himself. Without this quality, even occasional greatness will destroy a man. I love that. It's like you need to be aware of the hype. You need to understand the hype. You need to utilize the hype, weaponize the hype. But the second you believe it, that's your downfall. And it's super cool. I love that. And then the talking about the rag things, like how typical of a Harkonnen fief the Duke thought. Every degradation of the spirit that can be conceived. It's like you are thanking us for drinking drippings off of like a floor rag. Like that was their version of charity. That's how fucked up Harkonnens are.
I mean, it sounds very much like modern day America, of like all of these not rich people being like, well, I have money, so I'm gonna vote for the person that doesn't raise my taxes because I might make that money someday. Like, we're literally getting the drippings from the politicians in, the White House. So it's a very common theme. Hey, literally.
Gracier says spice beer.
Yeah.
You both were going to say the same thing.
Yeah. That Paul has some at the party when he has a conversation with Gurney. You right. So yeah.
So it exists.
It does exist.
It's not.
It's just whatever happened to Duncan was weird.
Okay.
Yeah. So him getting that drunk seemed out of character to all people involved. Like, yeah, like he's upset, but that's still weird for him, I think. Yeah. Moving on to chapter 16. Oh, yeah. Duke consistently aware of his own mortality. Leto's just like, he'll wear the title well, the Duke thought, and realized with a sudden chill that this was another death thought. So he's just like fucking circling the drain, man. Like up until that last minute, he's just like, fuck. There's also lots of...
The girl, the
Paul girl?
The water shipper.
Yeah,
girl?
like he had like a girl. She kept like throwing in conversations and stuff. Is she like important at all? Or is she just kind of there for that?
She was a strategic move. So the Harkonnens sent that guy and her in to sexually seduce Paul, and it didn't work because Paul's sharp. But yeah, so like there's a point where Jessica is just like, oh, what, this fucking airhead, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And then she's like, wait, she's not an airhead. You, ooh. But then she looks over at her son and he's just like so even keel. She's like, yeah, whatever, it didn't work anyway. So it was a cute moment. So I don't recall, but I don't think she's that important. It was just one of those.
She was just for that moment. Okay.
Yeah, she was a weapon. She was a tool and it didn't work.
If she's not Zendaya, then she doesn't matter. I'm just waiting for her to show up.
Good. You should. She's the best. Oh, yes. And this water shipper is a man to watch. Lingar Butte. Remember the name. The Harkonnens used him, but never fully controlled him. Which is an interesting thought, because they like kind of had everything under their thumb on Arrakis, and this guy somehow managed to hold something over them, which would be the movement of water. So, pretty cool.
Wait, was it here? Oh shit! Now I don't know where it is. Where Paul figured out that there's water everywhere. He had the feeling that he was talking to somebody, and then which made it to him feel like there was more water than they're leading on to be. Is it in this chapter?
Yes, it is.
I think it's a later chapter.
Okay.
Oh, I thought it was later.
Is it? Because this is the last time we really get to see Paul before he gets captured.
Yeah. I think it is this chapter.
This is a longer chapter.
This is a very long chapter.
And I love Kynes' reaction, or Leto watching Kynes watch Jessica. It's like Leto's attention was caught by the expression on Kynes' face. The man was staring at Jessica. He appeared transfigured, like a man in love, or caught in a religious trance. Kynes' thoughts were overwhelmed at last by the words of prophecy, and they shall share your most precious dream. He spoke directly to Jessica. Do you bring the shortening of the way? Which is important. And later on, Jessica crossed to Leto, slipped her hand under his arm to gain a moment to which to calm herself. Kynes had said the shortening of the way. In the old tongue, the phrase translated as Kwisatz Haderach, which has been said many times at this point, especially by the Shadow Mapes, by Jessica herself, and by a lot of the Fremen who've been, or at least Erican people, walking around. Kwisatz Haderach, Jessica thought. Did our Missionaria Protectiva plant that legend here, too? The thought fanned her secret hope for Paul. He could be the Kwisatz Haderach. He could be. So I love that they've planted this myth on multiple worlds, and it's just kind of coming to fruition on this one, which is just awesome, right? So it's like the Bene Gesserit are just fucking hedging bets all over the galaxy, and it just seems to be working here, right? Got... This is my way of telling you that many things will be changed. I like that the Duke never sat down during that entire dinner. He was just in charge the whole time.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So this book, I know that's a series. I know there's more books, but does this book have a beginning, middle, and end, or is it a beginning, or is it a beginning of middle?
This one has a beginning, middle, and an end. The next two are more directly linked to each other, and they're definitely a continuation, but this one has a very solid end.
Okay, good.
Yeah, this is Kynes' toast. I just loved it. Kynes, though, caught her attention most sharply. The planetologist hesitated, then emptied his flagon into a container beneath his jacket. He smiled at Jessica as he caught her watching him, raised the empty flagon to her in a silent toast. He appeared completely unembarrassed by his action. He's like, what's up? Looking for the water conversation that you're talking about. It's in here.
I thought it was later after Jessica and Paul.
Yeah, Grace here said later too.
Paul were like done with after they busted out of the thopter or something. Oh, that's when I thought it was. But no, I could be wrong.
I thought it was when he was having a conversation with somebody, and he sensed that there was like a lie or like a half truth, and that's why he was like, oh, that he realized there might be more water. It's confirmed later.
Yeah, there was that during the dinner when he and Jessica are both reading Kynes and the Smuggler about when they're talking about like water and everything like that, and Paul and Jessica are noticing like they're telling truths, but only bits and pieces of information are actually real.
Oh, okay. Grace says it's confirmed later, so maybe the conversation does happen now, where he has that feeling.
No, it's this one. We're there. We're getting there. I found the page. It is this. Well, yeah, the confirmation is a later chapter, but Paul's thought is here. This is where they're talking about all the stuff. Impossible in Arrakis, blah, 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 blah. Kynes says, you merely have to understand the limits of the planet and the pressures upon it. It'll never be done, Butte said. The Duke came to a sudden realization, placing the point where Kynes' attitude had changed. It had been when Jessica had spoken of holding the conservatory plants in trust for Arrakis. So this is where Kynes kind of like lightens up on the Atreides family. What would it take to set up the self-sustaining system, Dr. Kynes? If we can get 3% of the green plant element on Arrakis involved in forming carbon compounds as foodstuffs, we've started the cyclic system, Kynes says. Water's the only problem? The Duke asked. He sensed Kynes' excitement, felt himself caught up in it. Water overshadows the other problems, Kynes said. This planet has much oxygen without its usual contaminants, widespread plant life, and large sources of free carbon dioxide from such phenomena as volcanoes. There are unusual chemical interchanges over large surface areas here. Do you have pilot projects? The Duke asked. We've had a long time in which to build up the Tansley effect, a small unit experiment on an amateur basis from which science may now draw its working facts, Kynes says. There isn't enough water, Butte said. There just isn't enough water. Master Butte is an expert on water, Kynes says. He smiles, turns back to his dinner. The Duke gestured sharply down with his right hand, barked, "No, I want an answer. Is there enough water, Dr. Kynes?" Kynes stares at his plate. Duke repeats himself. "There may be," Kynes said. Jessica says, "He's faking uncertainty," in her own head. And then Paul, with his deeper truth sense, Paul caught the underlying motive. Had to use every ounce of his training to mask his excitement. There is enough water, but Kynes doesn't wish it to be known. So Paul is completely sold and convinced on that concept here. And then, yeah. And then the Duke goes away. Paul takes over the party and is a total shit to the Duke, the douchebag. I already forgot his name. The water guy. Or the banker. One of the two.
The banker, I think.
They're both kind of awful. Yeah.
Yeah.
So the banker is the one who's for the Harkonnens. And Jessica keeps almost stabbing people in this scene. Just keeps going to her. Chris Knife relaxing.
Who's the guy that like seemed pretty amused by Paul? Like he toast to him. He says something like he may look like a child, but like his actions are of a man. Like he seemed like he watched. That's the banker. It was somebody who like was watching things happen, and he seemed amused.
Yeah, I think I took it as he was being snarky and kind of mean about it because he was the one they were shitting on a little bit ago. But let me see. Oh, and he has to explain what drowning is to people.
Oh yeah,
immerse in water until dead. Like, what an interesting way to die.
Because I don't think they've ever seen that much water.
Nope.
Even an inch. Because you can drown in an inch.
It's true.
Yeah.
I like this observation talking about like he's subtly calling them out, but because of an observation made by my father at the time. He said the drowning man who climbs on your shoulders to save himself is understandable, except when you see it happen in the drawing room. Paul hesitated just long enough for the banker to see the point coming. Then, and I should add, except when you see it at the dinner table. And everyone's like, fuck. Even Jessica's like, that was rash. Idaho and everybody else, Jessica included, they're all getting ready to kill this dude. There's a smuggler, Tuick. He's the guy who likes him. He's the one who's laughing.
Okay.
Butte also starts smiling. The banker stays mad. And Kynes says, one baits an Atreides at his own risk. And the banker's like, is it Atreides' custom to insult their guests? Blah, blah, blah.
And all of his guards are like super ready to just kill everyone. Like,
Oh, and yeah, you're right, Art. It was the smuggler who was very happy about Paul. He's like, I'll give you a toast to young Paul Atreides, still a lad by his looks, but a man by his actions. And Jessica's like, why do they intrude me?
Is he the one that the Duke finds dead, the smuggler?
Yeah, he doesn't last very long.
Oh.
Yeah, he's
Nate, that guy, all the people I like.
I know. There's a great motherlode of spice to be found in the southern reaches. So they're kind of talking myth. Jessica kind of points out where every time they say something along the lines of like "it is said" or "it is known," she's like, "Well, that's that sort of like superstition that's floating around this culture that we have to sidestep to get to the truth," which is a cool thing. Yeah, the Harkonnen agent and the crew, overpowered by the others, flew by the machine to a smuggler's base. Both man and machine were turned over to our forces, so they got their carry-all back. La la la. Captured the laser guns. We talked about that. Yeah, I don't know. Any of you have favorite other bits from this chapter or comments, concerns?
No, I think you covered it all. I had questions, but we got them.
It was long.
Yeah, this one was long.
Yeah,
which is sucked because I made time to read, and then the rest of the chapters are really short.
Yeah. This is Drunk Idaho, chapter 18. Drink it, I say! When she goes get Mapes, like makes Mapes go get some coffee. And he doesn't even get to drink it because he's being such a butt. He's like, you traitors! He just splashes it in his face and fucks off. I was like, that's so good. She's so good. I love Jessica.
Yeah, I like that she slapped him.
Yeah. She's like, he needs to be shocked. Bam! Like that's her solution to a lot of stuff. It's like, Thufir Hawat needs to be shocked. I'll use the voice on him. Drunken Idaho needs to be shocked. Slap him across the fucking face. This is when she's having this whole conversation. That drunken fool of an Idaho. Fool of a Took. It isn't Hawat. So she confirms that he's not a traitor. This is also, you learned some great, interesting news about Jessica. We totally glazed over it. Shall I play my trump? Shall I tell him of the Duke's daughter I've carried within me these few weeks? No. Leto himself doesn't know. This would only complicate his life, divert him in a time when he must concentrate on our survival. There is yet time to use this. So Jessica's prego with a little baby girl.
Well, I feel like the Bene Gesserit just know when they're pregnant.
They can.
Yeah, I mean, it
can't
sounds
they
like
like
a fact
choose?
from her that she can reveal. Choose the gender? Yeah.
Yeah, so
Because
she knows it's
her
a
choosing
girl.
a boy was a betrayal. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know they actually choose.
Mm-hmm.
That's cool.
Mm-hmm. That's why the Reverend Mother was so pissed. It's like, you had the gall to have a boy. You think that your kid's going to be the chosen one? Like, you piece of shit.
Because she should have had another girl to become another Bene Gesserit.
Oh, I thought she was just being a bitch to her. Like, how dare you have a, like, you know, like, she has no control over it. No, she actually does have control over it.
If she was Leto's wife and she had a son, it would be more like, okay, at least I'm making a successor, an heir to this throne. Like, that makes more sense. But because she's a concubine, her having a son as a Bene Gesserit is just like a total slap in the face to the order, because they're just like, oh, why do you think you're so special?
Yeah.
Let's see what else we got in this chapter. I like this quote from Jessica. Humans live best when each has his own place, when each knows where he belongs in the scheme of things. Destroy the place and destroy the person. You and I, Thufir, of all those who love the Duke, are most ideally situated to destroy the other's place. Could I not whisper suspicions about you into the Duke's ear at night? When would he be most susceptible to such whispering, Thufir? Must I draw it for you more clearly? She's like, I can ruin you. It's like, she's so good.
Gracer says they're so in tune with their bodies, it's scary.
Mm-hmm.
The Bene Gesserit.
Yeah, it's frightening that they can literally pick out just one little sperm that has the right chromosomes and be like, that one. Like that's weird. It's creepy.
This is another situation where you get here the Bene Gesserit, like everyone being kind of superstitious and afraid of them in general. It's like, you witch! He almost says it. She says it. She's like, just say it. Love it. And I love that there's also like a sort of a stalemate of danger, because Thufir had his little poison dart thing in his jacket.
Mm-hmm.
So he's like, if I have to, I'll probably kill her, but I don't want to. And both of them are just like kind of circling each other. Fun scene.
Mm-hmm. And she even turns her back to him at the end.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if she did that on purpose or not.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, totally. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, this is the first real instance of the voice, because they talk about it in an earlier chapter, but I don't think they really use it, right?
It gets used on Paul at the first chapter when he does the box thing, but it's very like quick.
Yeah. So Hawat started to leap from his chair. I have not dismissed you, Thufir, she's flared. The old mentat almost fell back into the chair. So quickly did his muscles betray him. She smiled without mirth. Now you know something of the real training they give us, she said. Hawat tried to swallow in a dry throat. Her command had been regal, peremptory, uttered in a tone and manner he had found completely irresistible. His body had obeyed her before he could think about it. Nothing could have prevented his response, not logic, not passionate anger, nothing. To do what she had done spoke of a sensitive, intimate knowledge of the person thus commanded, a depth of control he had not dreamed possible. And she just goes on to be a badass. I've said to you before that we should understand each other, she said. I meant you should understand me. I already understand you, and I tell you now that your loyalty to the Duke is all that guarantees your safety with me. And he's like, fuck. For the rest of the chapter. Fuck.
I was actually talking to Art this morning about like when this book was written. And you said it was the 60s?
60s, right?
60s?
56, I think.
Oh, the year my mother was born.
I'll look it up.
Yeah, but like if you think about the time when the book was written, I mean, there had been many books obviously written about powerful female figures.
Oh, 65, my bad.
65, yeah, 65, that's even better. You switched them. But if you think about it, like the way that people think about the Bene Gesserit is like they're very proper and they're like they have these things that like men don't understand. Like men don't understand what they can do because like they don't know the training and they don't know that. It's very how I interpret it is very like 50s women, how women were expected to be a very certain way and act a very certain way inside the home and never present anything outside. But then if a woman did, like in the 60s when there was that like revolution of like women coming into power, becoming like more freeing and like rebelling kind of against that like homemaker kind of thing, it like men and like, you know, the world saw that women aren't just these creatures that are supposed to be submissive and just like in there. They actually can do things and they can manipulate you because that's what they've had to do to survive for so long. So it's like, I was saying to Art, I was like, this writer guy must have like either had a woman proofread this chapter or was raised by women, like solely raised by women or something, because he understands like the struggles of like having to put on that like that I'm here face, and then knowing in your mind like I could probably wreck this man if I needed to, like I could get him to do whatever I wanted by using the gifts that I've been trained with my whole life by being suppressed by the patriarchy. Like there's a lot of that in that chapter, and I don't know, like, hi, talking to three men here, I don't know if you guys got that, but I did. I was like, that whole chapter I was just totally very into because I was like, yes, people see you a certain way, but now you're telling this man, oh, no, I will kill you. Like, I will wreck you. He's under my thumb. And I'm not under his.
And I love that even within this universe, they have to have that same kind of care, because she talks about, it's like, you've seen the fist under the glove of the Bene Gesserit. You've, like, most people who see the voice or experience the voice die because we can't have it get out that we can do these things, because we need people to trust us and welcome us into their houses and have us do things for them. We do live but to serve, but it's like, don't fuck with us.
It's literally Stepford Wives. Like, it's literally Stepford Wives.
Yeah, it's super cool. Yeah, and I love that. Just like the way she says it. So power's a two-edged sword, Thufir, she said. You think, how easy for her to shape a human tool to thrust into an enemy's vitals. True, Thufir, even into your vitals. Yet, what would I accomplish? If enough of us Bene Gesserit did this, wouldn't it make all Bene Gesserit suspect? We don't want that, Thufir. We do not wish to destroy ourselves. She nodded. We truly exist only to serve. And it's like such a snarky fucking line. She's like, yeah, they're there to serve their own purposes. They keep going back to the old Duke and the bull. So you even see it, like, imagery wise at the top of either this chapter, I think it was this chapter, or the chapter before, like the sunrise kind of hitting the bull. But the old man taught before he leaves. He says he was reminded of the bull ring and of the Duke's father, who'd been brave no matter what his other failings. And one day, the corrida long ago, the fierce black beast had stood there, head bowed, immobilized, and confused. The old Duke had turned his back on the horns, cape thrown flamboyantly over one arm, while cheers rained down from the stands. He says, I am the bull and she the matador. How about that? He withdrew his hand from his weapon.
He thought.
Yeah.
It's opposite. We know that.
I love it. As Priscilla says, there's a lot of ambivalence on whether the Bene Gesserit are strong female characters, particularly because as women with power, they're super sneaky, mysterious, and manipulative. Also because the ultimate goal of their order is to wait for and or create the right man. That is true. They are consistently working within a system that is still led and empowered by men leaders of houses and the emperor and all this other stuff. It's true. It's problematic. It's not perfect. But that's what we're here to talk about. On to the next chapter. This is the note of a column of smoke by day, a pillar of fire by night. No signature. Dun, dun, dun. That's all the blobs. This is where Leto gets attacked. This is when he's like, Yue! No. There's not too much happening in this other than just the facts, I think, in the UA chapter.
And we just get more confirmation that Yue is a dick and that he's betraying everybody for his own personal reasons.
Yeah.
Because he's very much like fuck all y'all. My problems are bigger than yours. And it's like, but I'm kind of running a planet. Are your problems bigger than mine? Like,
yeah, man.
He just wants to sacrifice everybody.
He wants his wife. He just wants his wife. But yeah, he'll do anything to get his wife back. He's able to break Imperial training because he wants to see his wife so badly. Like that's the whole point. Like he's not even in doubt for the longest time because he's under Imperial control. Like basically Imperial brainwashing. And they fucked them up. The Harkonnens fucked them up so bad by taking his wife that he's able to break past that and start like plotting. And
do we know his wife's alive?
We don't. That's why. So he did all of this just to see her. And so he, at the end of that last chapter, he's following the Harkonnens to basically wait his turn to speak to the Baron. So we'll get to find that out pretty quick. Yeah, just love that all the tooth stuff is happening while Leto's awake too. It's like rip plug. It's so sad.
Especially can't because, feel
like, an early. No, but I mean it's sad. Like the whole betrayal thing is sad because Yue loves them. Like he loves the Atreides, which is why even within his betrayal, he's still trying to save them. But it's just like he's too far gone. It's just like I hope they live. I hope you're able to kill the Baron. But it's like he kind of like everybody else in this book wrote off Duke Leto as just being like, this fucker's dead. Like no matter what happens, this fucker's dead. So we might as well give him a shot to do some damage on his way out. But like. And even his sort of plan to help Jessica and Paul is like, there's so many ways that it can fail. It's like, yeah, take them to the open desert and let's hope that they find the Fremen, or the Fremen find them. Like Duncan's involved probably because Duncan knows the Fremen and he's been living among them for a while. So putting those two together, but it's still just one of those like, man, you're shit. The tooth. That is one of the almost like.
No, go ahead.
I was just gonna say that's one of those moments that's almost line for line done in the movie too. They say the
84 like movie. Is it weird that because I picture the actors from the new movie, like I'm trying to picture them, but whenever they describe Duke Leto, I picture Jason Momoa's head, like his face, because it's longer than Oscar Isaac's, and because they always describe what's his name? Duncan Idaho as having a round face, and then and Duke Leto as having a long face, and so I always switch their faces. Yeah, I switch their faces because I feel like the description is more that, but then Duncan Idaho, obviously his body's more Jason Momoa than Oscar Isaac's. So if you could switch their heads, I'd just be a little happier.
I think Oscar Isaac is even a little beefy for Leto, at least the way I see him, because like Paul and he are often described as being particularly thin as well.
But I'm excited for Lady Jessica because that's the chick from Greatest Showman, and she just has a pretty voice.
I don't think
she's the opera singer.
Okay.
Yeah, cool. You guys didn't know?
Yeah, I haven't seen The Greatest Showman, so
what?
I'm pulling from a trailer right now.
I love that.
Yeah, in my head.
Without the red hair, it didn't connect with me.
Really?
She's also in like James. She's in a Bond movie. I think.
Yeah. She's also in Mission Impossible.
Mission Impossible. That's right. Sorry.
She's in like.
I was like, I've never seen a Bond movie. I don't know what I'm talking about.
Never seen a Bond movie?
Yeah. We've had this conversation.
I forget most conversations I have with anybody because I have a very bad memory. Yeah, she's.
Oh, my Mezzy.
Did
I miss that?
Thopter. Who could have prepared this for us? Blah blah blah. They look at the ceiling. They find Yue. Yeah, these are more like things happen, but cool action moments. I really enjoyed these scenes.
Yeah,
they're very straightforward.
I'm liking the balance of like sit and do nothing, get a bunch of information, and then a few chapters are like boom, shit happens. Like it's nice up and down. Like pacing of the book is it's good. It's been like that for the last three basically episodes of this show, where like you get a bunch of information that's a little slow, but then things pick up and then it goes back down, then it picks up.
So nice. And you need it to care too, which I think that's the challenging bit, because it's like you have to understand like where the power is, who's in charge, whose plan is what, and who are you rooting for to see it like unravel. As Crystal says, the cast of the new movie has me so excited. I'm like, please don't screw this one up, screenwriters and directors. I trust the director. I think my stress is mostly going to be on the screenplay, because it's like it's third person omniscient, where you need to know what everybody's thinking all the time to know what the fuck is going on any of the time in this story. So I just imagine the solution in my head is everybody has a close friend that they tell everything to, and that's like the best thing that I can think of to make it like be okay. But I know they're not going to do that either, because if you're just watching the train of events occur, it's not that interesting. it's all the mental chess game that's happening between all the characters. That's what makes it a fascinating read, and that's what makes it so enjoyable to me anyway. Because it's like with all that, all the intent behind every choice missing, and you just see the choice, you're not going to know what the fuck's happening. You're just going to be like, okay, so he walked across the room. But in the way this shit's written here, it's like, I look at everyone in the room. I check their posture. I know that one's the bad guy. So I'm going to turn and go that way. And I'm going to look him up and down. And I'm going to do this thing. But it's like, if all you're seeing is the action, you're just like, what? And it's I don't know. You need the embellishment.
I don't know if it'd be like cheesy or campy, but like they could literally have inner monologues. Like
they did
as
that
you see
in the 84 Dune, and it's rough.
Yeah.
It's real rough.
I feel like that might be for as many characters as there are. I feel like one character has an inner monologue and you see his monologue throughout or hers. I think having that many characters might be a little much.
Yeah.
I have a feeling he might just be like, I'm just gonna do it. Good luck, everybody. Like he's gonna just kind of let you figure that shit out.
Unless he makes it for the people who read the book.
Yeah, maybe.
Because that's kind of like how the Harry Potter ones were. Like the first two are very much just right from the book. Like everything's in it. It's very boring. But then like once you get to the bigger books where you can't fit everything in, they just were like, well, we're just going to assume that people know some of this backstory and know some of it. So we're going to not include it. Because like if you actually want to know the deeper stuff, then just go read the book.
And this movie's being broken up into 2 movies, right? The book.
I've heard it both ways. I don't actually know anymore.
Okay.
I've heard it was all going to be self-contained and just long, or it's been 2.
Maybe like we don't know.
Those are going to be long ass movies. Because I don't know if it's me just sucking at reading books, but like I feel like so little has happened, even though we're in chapter like 15, 20, something like that. I feel like so little has happened. Like they've come to the planet and some people have tried to kill each other, and now they've walked outside and gotten in a helicopter.
Well, I mean, which might be good for a movie because we don't have a lot of time in movie.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Like, if they were to do 2 movies of this, I'm like, unless there's a shit ton of action coming up, like, what are they going to do? They're going to get a Harry Potter 7.1. Where the first movie is going to be a lot of traveling.
Yeah.
So, is it going to be Harry Potter 7? Where there's just a lot of nothing and then a lot of action? Do you think that
a lot of this, what we've read so far, is going to be like just a short little small in the front of the movie, or is this going to take a good chunk of the movie?
I think the current events where we are right now will probably be the first 40 minutes of the film. Okay. Yeah, first act for sure. And I think depending on how they pad action scenes and stuff, I feel like this entire movie could end probably midway through like book 2 within the book itself.
Because it makes sense that like end of first act would be when they get kidnapped. Right. That makes sense for end of first act 1. Act 2 is them, whatever there's going to happen to them in the desert.
There's a couple things just from trailers that I know that they have to get to. And there's things that they've already shown where I'm like, okay, unless because it's one movie being split in 2, like we're seeing clips from part 2 as well. Right. But there's shit that they're going to have to get to, which pushes that back quite a bit further, at least all that they're going to get through. So yeah, I don't know. I think it depends on action. I think. Yeah. Well, I just read it's going to be 2. Oh. So I was just Googling it because we asked.
Because it just keeps getting marketed as Dune and not Dune Part 1.
And now we have to wait an extra year to find out.
He says will be split into 2 movies as the director believes the world is too complex to fit into one. He says, I would not agree to make this adaptation of the book with one single movie. He told Vanity Fair, the world is too complex. It's a world that takes its power in details. So he's fucking the right man for the job already.
Yeah, he's great.
I'm so excited.
Know what? Something that annoys me about the movie industry right now is they've put themselves in this box of like movies have to be 2.5 hours or less. Like, give me a 4-hour movie. Let's try it. Why not? Like, I don't understand. Just put an intermission in there. Pull a Titanic. Like, give me a 4-hour movie.
Yeah, we haven't done any like Titanic-sized movies.
No.
In a while.
They should. Like, this would have been a good one to do. Like, it's one book. Like, if you want to split it into a 5-hour movie, just make a 5-hour movie. Like, and give us an intermission. Like, people sit and watch all the Star Wars movies in one sitting. People sit and watch all the Lord of the Rings movies in one sitting. Like, just give us a big ass long movie.
Miss Priscilla says, "Fingers crossed they don't try to turn it into three movies in the quest for more money." No, I don't think this director would.
It says two flat, and it sounded like he didn't even want to split it into two, but that allowed him to make the full movie that he wanted to make. So I still think it will feel. I feel like once it's out, you could probably just watch it as one. That's my hope. Probably not. Probably not, because they always got to do that stupid fucking recappy shit at the top of a part 2, which I hate. Fucking hate it.
Harry Potter did not do that.
Did it? Oh no, it didn't.
No, it just shows you the fucking tomb. That's its recap. It's like, remember the tomb? How we ended the last one? Okay, that's where we're starting. Bye.
Yeah, Gipperkern says, we sit and watch multiple hours-long D&D streams multiple times a week.
It's probably a money thing where they're like, we need to make 2 movies so we can double the price. But it's like, then just double the price. Be like, we're giving you a 5-hour movie. We're charging you $28.
Yeah, but then the regular people don't go. Yeah.
They got to appeal to everybody. So I think 2 movies is also a good way to get the information and keep it entertaining and keep it short enough for them to not die. Because it's a book that tackles politics, religion, ecology, spirituality, and with a lot of characters. I think that's why it's so difficult. Honestly, it's by far the most difficult thing I've done in my life. Like, hell yeah. Good.
Did you write it? Are you the writer? What? Is that the writer who said that?
No, he's long dead. I was the
filmmaker? Okay, I did not know who you were quoting or if you were reading from the chat.
Yeah, I looked at the chat. I was looking at the chat. I was like, "What is he reading?"
I was like, "Who did this? Did you make a student film?" I got really excited for whoever was in the chat.
Beer and Batman says,
Silence.
Go for it.
As the Beer and Batman says, plus it gives them the opportunity when the first one bombs to bail on the second one and cut their losses.
I think the problem is they already filmed both.
Yeah, it's already. They're done. I think they're making them both. They're just in post now.
It's Lord of the Rings.
I love that. I was clicking over to look at cast, and I saw a quote, or at least an article about David Lynch. David Lynch has zero interest in Dune due to failure of his adaptation. Sorry about it.
It just might have been before the technology's time. Because I feel like a lot of movies. What?
I don't think so. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
His movie is beautiful. I think like the design of Lynch's Dune is almost exactly what I always imagined. It's just the Lynchy directory choices that I fucking hate with that movie.
Is he Twin Peaks?
Yeah, he's Twin Peaks.
Oh, that's why.
So it's like he turned the Baron into a cartoon of a bad guy. He kept some stuff pretty 3-dimensional, and then just like the third act fucking falls apart. But at the beginning, it's like almost perfect. It's so frustrating how good it is to begin with, and then just watching it take a fucking nosedive, and you're just there, and you're like, ah. And then the director's cut is so bad, they took his name off of it, or he took his name off of it. It became an Alan Smithy film. That's how bad it is.
That's hilarious.
Yeah. Although I would recommend actually watching the Alan Smithy version because it's kind of better. It's a little bit better.
Cool.
We should do a.
I just realized this is how college is supposed to work. You go read, and then you come and discuss it.
This is exactly how college works. As somebody who did it, this is exactly how it works.
I should have read all those times they said they assigned chapters. I should have read it before we did the class.
As I also didn't do that, but yes, I knew that this is how it was supposed to be done. I just hated reading. I still hate reading.
I love reading. I just don't get around to it that much. This is keeping me on task.
I like reading, but I have difficulties.
I listened to the audiobook because Art signed me into his audiobook stuff. And so these last 5 chapters, I did the audiobook. And it was much easier because I can play Animal Crossing while reading, quote unquote reading.
Nice.
And
That's
also I can...
It triggers the same part
just
of
listen.
your brain as it has been discovered.
Well, because whenever I read, my brain goes somewhere else. And so then I have to read 6 pages over again because I realize I have no idea what I read about because I was thinking about dinosaurs. So, it's better.
I refer you to my previous statement, Amber. Reading is for suckers.
Yeah, it is. As someone who
Welcome to Dune Book Club, everybody. Well, that's all I got. Unless you guys have other stuff you wanted to tackle, ask about, predictions, anything like that. Same for you, chat. What you got? Miss Priscilla, you're right. The best in any class is where the professor gets to choose their own reading list because then you get to do a post-reading discussion with a fan. That's true. That's always fun. It's nice.
All the
when
books I read
people
were
share.
boring
Oh,
in college.
nice.
Except for one. There was one called, what was it called? On Golden Pond? Something about Golden, the Golden Road. I don't remember. But it was about immigration to America during a certain time of America's forming. It was very good. I don't remember what it's called. But I remember reading half of it.
Sweet.
And that was it.
Cool. Well, we'll be back
We have
tomorrow.
no predictions.
Tomorrow for what's that show?
Roll for initiative.
Roll for Initiative, and then Trash Beast at tomorrow night.
I think Duke Leto is going to die. That's my prediction.
Solid prediction. Solid prediction. Good guess.
Perfect.
Thank you.
You know, I
That's
think Yue is going to be a traitor. I'm pretty sure. I have this gut feeling. This gut feeling.
I think Jessica is going to be a badass. I mean, she's already proven herself, but I think she's actually going to do it.
She's so cool. I love Jess.
And
Paul's gonna be the chosen one.
and I think Paul and Zendaya are going to get together.
Paul and Zendaya.
Zendaya's character is just Zendaya all the time.
Miss Crystal says,
I hate-
Amber has the true sight.
Dude. I also have a voice. It's very high pitched. When I talk in it, people get scared. I'm a fucking Bene Gesserit, you guys. My mom is a witch, so I mean, it makes sense. She's crazy. She is.
Oh, happy book club, everybody. Shall we?
Yeah.
Shall we raid?
Yeah.
I think
Let's
we're
raid
petering
somebody.
out. Or pitering out, as this is
Nah.
a Dune discussion.
All right.
Is
we're
Connie
gonna raid-
streaming?
Super, what did you say?
Oh my God, stop it.
Connie is not
Oh, you
streaming.
said Con.
Oh, I
Game
love
Trade
Connie.
Media, they're doing some crafty things and making some
Oh, yeah.
art. So
I
we'll send them-
like them. Throw them some love. I
Yeah.
watch them on
Start that
Facebook.
raid.
Oh, yeah.
all the time. I always forget
And
they're
we
on
used-
Twitch.
We used vMix today, and it didn't. It only broke a little,
Yeah.
and Denny's stuttery, but it's not so bad.
Things to learn.
Yeah, I think I can tell it to come in at a lower quality and it'll be fine.
Yeah, and we look
that
so
was
much
the
clearer
error.
than Doom
Yes. So much.
because
better.
we're not
Yeah,
being
this
stretched
this
out.
is nice. And what's cool is if one of us leaves, it doesn't break anything. That's like
No.
the best part. I'm so excited.
All right,
Like
y'all.
this.
Yep.
Bye.
It goes black, but
I come back, and everything's
We're
fine.
back.
Nothing happens.
yeah.
Ta-da.
We'll have to figure all
Okay,
that stuff
bye.
out. Bye.
God, we're awkward.